Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the Catholic Homemaker and I share all things faith, education, and homemaking. Every Thursday I will post a Thursday theology video on topics inspired by my Instagram followers. To follow me on Instagram, go to @catholic.homemaker and you can keep up to date with my day-to-day lifestyle, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell for updates on when I post a new video. Today I am sharing with you how to make homemade bone broth. My tutorial is very short, easy, and concise, so enjoy.
Here are the ingredients to make a beef bone broth. You need oxtail, beef marrow bones, about 3 or 4 celery stalks, carrots, the large ones, onions of your choice, rosemary, thyme, ginger and garlic, pure Himalayan sea salt, olive oil, peppercorns, apple cider vinegar, and those are all of the ingredients. For storage, you need mason jars. You can either do 16 ounce, 12 ounce, 8 ounce, whatever you prefer, depending on how often you use them. I like to use the 12 ounce and the 16 ounce sometimes. You need either a pressure cooker or a slow cooker, whichever you choose. And in addition, you need a roasting pan. I'm using the 8-quart Emil Lagasse pressure cooker. It is also a slow cooker and a favorite of mine. Bone broth contains gelatin, which turns into collagen in the body. This is particularly good for the joints and for your skin. Both of these bones contain cartilage, which will help the bone broth to gelatinize. Notice that the oxtail is surrounded by meat and fat. This is what produces a lot of the flavor in the bone broth. The first thing you'll want to do is roast your bones to produce the most flavor. You want to do it at 400 for about 40 minutes. These are the vegetables prepared. You don't need to cut them up, but you can. You do not need to take the skins off of anything because they do have a lot of nutrients. Again, I'm adding thyme, rosemary, Himalayan sea salt, garlic, ginger, and peppercorns. Here are my bones fresh out of the oven. They are nice and browned. Make sure to use metal tongs when placing them in your pot so they don't slip. I've placed all of my veggies on top and now I'm going to fill it with water. Make sure you do not completely cover your bones because you want it to be as gelatinous as possible. In addition, make sure to use filtered or purified water. If you are using a slow cooker, go ahead and set it to 4 hours. If you are using a pressure cooker, go ahead and set it to 2 hours. Here is my broth ready to go. Now I am going to use metal tongs to take out all of the bones. I then like to use a spaghetti server to take out all of the veggies, and I put them in a strainer contained in a bowl. I strain out all of the broth and I discard the veggies. Some people like to reuse the veggies, but that is not my preferred method. Make sure you do keep your bones for the second batch. I am going to make a second batch here. I used whatever veggies I had left over and I am going to now store. I recommend putting your broth in bowls and putting it in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours. I left my broth in the fridge overnight and this is what has happened. Basically, all of the fat will rise to the top and now it's time to remove it. I remove it just using a spoon and I discard the fat, although some people like to keep it to use for cooking. It's not recommended to do that as it is super fatty. I actually left out my broth beforehand and let it become more of a liquid so it was easier to store in the mason jars. I then like to use a funnel with a sieve on top so that the sieve can catch all of the extra fat. Make sure not to fill your mason jars to the brim because they will expand in the freezer and your jars will break. This is my second batch of bone broth. Notice that it is not as fatty, and that will happen with the more batches you make. Now, I don't remove the fat from the top because it is much easier to use the sieve. Here is my bone broth, all complete and ready to be stored in either the freezer or the fridge. Keep in mind, it is good for 3 to 4 days in the fridge and about 6 months in the freezer.